Hello, this is Pastor Dave Stewart of Destiny Preparation Church, welcoming you to our program, Road to Destiny, brought to you by Destiny Preparation Church. Happy to have you with us again this week on the program. I pray that God has been blessing you as now we're closing out the summer. We're actually moving into the fall, September, Labor Day weekend, and getting excited about some of the things that are planned around here for the fall. I know everybody's getting ready for school and a whole educational transition. Some going back to work, jobs they've been off for the summer, kids going back to school. And we've been praying, by the way, for both the children, the parents, the school workers, all those as they go back into the system and into their responsibilities, for the adults as they're going back to higher education. We're praying for you. We're praying that God is going to bless you, bless your family, keep us safe, enable us to absorb the wisdom, show His grace, and let us shine out as people with the favor of God in the midst of all those around us. So we're moving into a new season, and here at the church we got some great things happening coming up this fall. I'm really excited over the next couple of weeks, some exciting things happening. Starting first of all in just a couple of weekends on the 16th of September, we're going to be doing an outdoor service. Instead of being here in the church, we're going to be out in the park, Paul Bianchi Park, which is right down the street actually from the church, Mount Reed in Emerson, where a lot of people go to get their driver's license tests. We're going to be in that park with a full tent. It's going to be a full blast, full on service, plus we're going to have all kind of things happening there. We're having food there. We're going to have music and entertainment along with the service, in conjunction with the service. So we'll be there for a good several hours in the park, and we hope that if you're in the area, you will come and join us. Just come out, hang out, celebrate. We're going to celebrate God. We're going to have a good fellowship time, and you're invited to join us. So we won't be here in the church that Sunday. We will be at the park, and you are invited again to come and join us for that. Now I want to take you to the Word of God. This comes from a service from several weeks ago that I believe is a real blessing and something that's very much needed. It talks about the relationship of how God pours into us, how we all need to be poured into. There's a relationship that we need. We need to have someone that helps us understand who we are, what our identity is, where we come from, and what we're about. This sermon is Someone Needs a Father. And I pray it'll bless someone out there today that needs to hear this word, because God can be the Father that you've been missing in your life. You may not even realize what you've been missing, but God is here to help fill that need in your life. I pray this blesses you. I hope you'll come and join us, both coming up in a couple weeks at the park and any other time here at Destiny Preparation Church, 11:30 a.m. here at 1405 Lyell Avenue. God bless you. I hope to see you real soon.
There's going to be a difference on the impact of that child if that child was held when they were young, when they were birthed, or if they were just left somewhere on a shelf by themselves and never touched. They show us scientifically there's a difference between a child that is coddled and a child that never experiences touch, because you are pouring things into them that help to establish what is comfortable, how familiar they should be with certain things. The environment that you are establishing for them is making something of them. It's giving them an identity. The Bible tells us and shows us that it's those things that we pour into the child that helps to make them something that they're ultimately going to be. In Proverbs 23:7, it says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." So it's not the things that are just happening on the outside, but it's the things that are being poured into them. It's what you're putting into them. They didn't start that way, but you've got to fill them up. You have an empty vessel that you have to begin to fill up. In Matthew 15:11, Jesus said, "It's not that which goeth into the mouth that defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man." In other words, it's the things that have been put inside of you that come out. Listen, if you really want to know what somebody is like, just give them a minute. And if you really want to know what they're like, put them under some pressure and let them get a little heat. Let them start sweating a little bit. Let them get a little frustrated, perhaps a little upset. And you're going to find out what they're really like, because whatever is inside of them is going to eventually show up. They can look, we can look happy and smile on the outside. We can wear suits and good clothes and look one way, but you put them in a situation, there's something down the inside that ultimately is going to show up. You can only get out what has first been put in. You have to put something into somebody in order for them to understand who they are. So we have a responsibility. Listen, your home environment is the first stamp, or if you will, imprint of foundation of the child. Wherever you are raising them, wherever you put them into, whatever situation that you draw them into, your home environment is the first impact that child will have in terms of knowing who he is or who she is and what is right and what is good. If you're in a house where there's a lot of screaming and yelling and arguing, you are imprinting into that child. If you're in a house where there's a lot of love that's expressed, you're imprinting into that child. If you are touchy and holy and grabby and kissy, you're imprinting on that child. But if you never touch them and you keep them at a distance, there's an imprint, the good and the bad of what you do. Sometimes we wonder how our kids came up with certain things. And we have to look in the mirror a little bit and where did they learn that? Why did they say that? I want you to understand that your children are picking up from you every moment of every day. You are filling their souls, their spirits with things. And they're either good things or they're bad things. You are making them what they're going to be. It's important for us to understand our role, our responsibility in the next generation. So just as God created us in his image, we are creating in ours. We are producing offspring to be like us, or sometimes to be better than us. How many of you want your offspring to be better? Maybe some things that we didn't do right, get right. Maybe some things we didn't receive right. And you want them to do better than you. You want to help. So you have to feed into them the things that are good, the things that are right. The Bible talks about in Philippians, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things of good report, think on these things. You need to pour into your children the good that you want to see coming out of them. Think of your child as an empty vessel that needs to be filled with something. And it can be filled with all of your good traits and all your good things and all the good that you have to offer, or it can be filled up with your nasty stuff. How many of you know we got some, sometimes we got some, we got some ugly things. We got some things that, no, we don't need to pass that on. You have to understand what you are filling into your children. Children naturally identify. They naturally align with their parents. They want to be like you. They want to act like you. They repeat your actions. You ever see your child, you act a certain way, you stretch a certain way, and then they start stretching a certain way. You start doing certain things. You sit up in the chair in a certain way, put up your legs and arms in a certain way, and you look over, and there they are putting up, right? Because you need to understand what you're creating here. It's not, you can't just blame it on God. You are putting some things into them. If you want them to learn how to sit up right or behave right or talk right, guess what? You better be doing it first, right? Wondering why they don't say their words right, why they don't, pronounce their words. Think about what they're getting, and you'll understand what they're giving. We have a responsibility. They're picking up from us every standard. They're picking up their norms. They're watching. They're copying. They're learning from us the right and the wrong. We have to understand that we have to pour in them the right things and shield them, or at least help them to understand what are the wrong things. There are times we get it wrong. We have to go back and maybe clarify. We got to change. We have to evolve. We have to grow so that they get the right things instead of the wrong things. When we look at men and women and the relationships that they have in their children, women tend to be natural nurturers. Naturally, they express love to the child. They help that child to understand what it means to be loved, to be coddled, to be touched. Sometimes as men aren't as focused quite as much on some of those things, but women are natural nurturers. They help a child to understand that somebody loves them, somebody cares about them. They help to build an aspect of confidence that somebody cares about you. There's something about knowing that somebody cares about you, that somebody values you, even when you messed up, even when you went the wrong direction. You just come back and you still love. You made a mistake? No, you still love. You did wrong? You can be disciplined, but guess what? You still love. There's somebody there to catch you even when you're not right. So it helps us to understand that there is somebody that loves you. Men by nature are intended to pass on identity. This has traditionally been our role. Throughout the Bible, we see our responsibility. We are the ones that establish identity. In the Old Testament, they named their children, and the names that they gave them helped establish the identity of who they were and what they were about. You can see things, envision things in your children, and you help to bring that out of them, build them, support them, direct them, help them to focus, help them to find themselves. We have a responsibility. Listen, men oftentimes think of ourselves as being providers, right? Many of y'all here today? Hello? We feel that responsibility. I got to provide. I got to work. What do you mean I'm not doing? I'm working. I'm coming up with. I'm paying the bills. I'm making sure you have. We're providers. But you need to understand that not only are we providers of things, but we have to be providers of an image. Come on, man. We have to be the providers of an image. We have to help make sure that our young men understand who they are, that they have purpose. We have to make sure that our young ladies, our young girls understand that they are valuable, that they are precious, they are special, they're unique. In fact, sometimes they're too good for somebody. Hello. My girls went for a long time thinking nobody was good enough. Daddy, I'm bringing another. What? Yeah, whatever. Right? You better step up. What do you do? Who is you? Where you come from? What you want? Why are you here? Some of them out here are still hurt. One of them went on to get his PhD degree. He's still hurt. He'd be all right. He's doing good. His dad's taking care of him. But I had responsibility to my children to understand that you don't need to accept just anything coming your way. Amen? We have a responsibility to help establish that identity. And now it seems like we're living in a time more than ever of identity crisis, where young people are struggling more than ever to understand who they are. There's a breakdown in the family role models and relationships, which causes an identity crisis. The more the families are broken down, the more detached we are. That nurturing aspect, that confidence, that comfort of knowing who they are, and that identity aspect fades away, because many times we struggle as parents and husbands and wives with each other, but we don't realize many times that it's the children that are being hurt. We struggle in our relationships. I don't know if I want to be with him. I don't know if I want to be with her. But we cannot forget that, listen, those children did not create themselves. We have a responsibility, whether we realize it or not. Sometimes we forget it, but we are responsible for what they are becoming. But the breakdown in relationships is causing an identity crisis. We find so many young people today that are struggling, and many of the struggles are because they don't know who they are. There is a sense, a mindset of suicide like we have never seen before. More and more, there's a struggle for young people trying to figure out, what am I? Am I male? Am I female? What am I supposed to be doing? What is my role? Who am I? This struggle of identity. What am I going to be? I don't know. What should I? No ambition, no focus, just living for the moment and for the day, because they have no long-term vision of what they're going to become. Listen, we are setting up our children for struggle and failure because we're not men pouring into them the identity of who they are. Come on, somebody help me today. We have a responsibility. Tell somebody we have a responsibility. Bring these children in this world. They didn't ask to come. Hello? They didn't ask to come. We decided to bring them here. We decided to do what we needed to do to bring them here. Now we're responsible for them. Today, this selfish mindset just wants to leave them at the door, just wants to leave them at the curb. I don't know. I just, hey, whatever, but we are responsible for what we create. We are responsible for what we bring into this world, and we cannot just leave it at the curb. We have to build, we have to pour into it to make them what they are called by God to be. Amen. How many of you know we're responsible today? We got to do what we need to do. Children today are so separated from fathers. As a result of being separated from fathers, these children are often frequently over nurtured and under focused. I'm going to say that again, overly nurtured, because there's an imbalance. So they become overly nurtured and under focused. Now they're so loved, they're so precious that they can't do anything. They're so much so that they're in a bubble, that they're so isolated that they have no vision of who they're supposed to become, because they're so loved and so coddled and so protected, and don't matter what you do and it's all right and it's okay and you just don't do anything, that's fine. But we understand we need both. We need to be nurtured, to be loved, but we have to be focused as well. We have to have a vision. There has to be a vision in your life for something. And you may not understand that. I spent time yesterday at the young people's event for the young men, 14 to 20, distinguished gentlemen, and we were talking to some of these young men. What are you going to do? What are you going to be? And some of them have an idea and some of them don't. But somebody needs to help pour into them. I told one of them, I said, I know what it is to be in your teens, and you don't really know what you want to do and what you want to be. But somebody has to be able to help pour something in them that will give them direction and focus and want to be something more than what they are right now. Some of them have to stretch a little higher. What do you want to be? I want to be a rap musician. I want to do this. Well, what have you ever thought about doing something with your brain? One of them said, I either want to be a musician, I want to be a rap artist, or I want to be a lawyer. I said, okay, well, let's work with it. Let's talk about that for a moment. You can use one to help be the other. I gave them some examples. Some people I've known that have used their mind to give them the opportunity to be able to do something with their creative ability. You've got to help form them, give them ideas. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. Didn't imagine that. Somebody has to pour into them. Are y'all with me today? We need to understand today that young people need to have some comfort in who they are. Listen, if you have no security in who you are, then you have no confidence in your potential. If you're not secure, if there's no security in who you are, then there will not be confidence in what your potential. If you don't understand that you're standing on something with some foundation, then you have no confidence to stretch out, to reach out. You've got to first be comfortable where you are in order to expand. Every child attempts to find its horizons, find its range, find out how far it can go. Have you ever had children in your life and seen that, they'll test you? Any parents know what I'm talking? They'll test you. They'll see how far they can go. They'll take one step. You gonna complain? You don't say nothing. So okay, they don't just stay there. They take the second step, and sometimes they'll look behind them. See if you're watching. You just looking down. I don't see nothing. And so they take a third step, and they're waiting to see where their boundaries are. We have to help identify boundaries. And you think it was done when they were 2 years old, and here they are at 15, and they're testing those boundaries. Instead of calling you mom, they call you Joyce. They call you Mrs. Whatever, or whatever. They start testing the boundaries. You say something and they say, I don't want to. Testing the boundaries. Later, Mom. I don't feel like it, Dad. I'm not. They don't ask. They tell you, I'm going to do it later. They didn't ask if you do. I'm going to do it later. What? You telling me? They are testing the boundaries. They have to understand where they are. They have to understand who they are. And children naturally test the boundaries so they can figure out where and who they are. That's how they find out right from wrong. They test. That's why they stick their finger in the socket. That's why they stick their finger on the stove, because they're testing to see where the boundaries are. They test you, and you have to tell them how far they can go. Listen, sometimes we just let them go and go and go because we love them so much and we just want them to have anything. So they ask you for one thing, you give it to them. So they don't. Do they stop? Nope. They ask you for something else and you give them that. And they don't stop there. And then they ask you for something else. And then it's another thing and then another thing until you finally say stop. Because until you say stop, there's no boundary. There's no identification. There's no sense of how far they can go. They'll ask you, can I go to this? You know you can't go to that. You know what I'm going to say even before I asked it. But they're testing to see if that boundary is still there. Well, I'm 16 now. I'm 18 now. Now I'm 19. And they testing the boundaries. You may be this tall, but guess what? You still, anybody know what I'm talking about today? We have to pour into them a sense of identity. Listen, Jesus shared the power of the relationship between him and his Father. There's a father-son relationship. Jesus expressed their relationship. We see in Jesus' relationship with his Father the perfect, the optimal relationship. Jesus had perfect and continuous connection with his Father. He thrived from his Father. He grew. He drew his strength from his Father. How was Jesus able to go through all that he went through? It was because of the confidence that had been established in him because of his relationship with his Father. He had self-awareness of his identity even when the people around him didn't know who he was. He knew he was. That's why at the age of 13 or 12 or 14, he was in the temple and they were looking for him and trying to figure out, why aren't you with us? Because I'm with my Father. I know who I am. He has a confidence. Even, listen, most of us, your parents are gone, you running. Where my parents at? Where am I supposed to do? How am I going to do? He knew was totally comfortable in the temple because that's where his Father was, and that's who he was. When you know who you are, you build and establish a confidence in who and what you're about. His self-awareness, he rejuvenated his strength. How was he able to endure all the mess, the craziness, people talking about him, lying on him, doing the things that he did, pouring out all that energy, all that glory into others, healing the sick and doing for others, and then finding himself physically and emotionally tired. Y'all don't know Jesus got physically and emotionally tired. You don't do all that and not get tired. When he needed strength, where did he go? He went back to his Father, and his Father rejuvenated him, reminded him, this is my beloved Son. He affirmed him, he acknowledged him. He let everybody else know, listen, this is my Son in whom I am well pleased. When others were questioning and doubting who he was, his Father reassured him, you on the right track, son. You're doing the right thing. You are representing me. I am still on your side. I have got your back. He showed it what it was to have that relationship which is affirmed by his Father, and he was strengthened from it. One of the issues that we're dealing with today is that today oftentimes we have fathers that don't know who they are. Somehow it wasn't transferred over to us. And so now we're trying to fill somebody else, but yet we're empty ourselves. We have fathers that are trying to father who weren't fathered themselves. And as a result of that, we're not actually sure what to carry on. We're not sure how to pass it on. How do we behave? What it is that we're supposed to be. And sometimes the best we can pass on is the best that we got. Sometimes the best we got is just what we scrapped up our own self. We learned some lessons, some things we learned what not to be. I learned don't want to be like that. Some things just naturally carry on to us. Some of us are grumpy because our fathers were grumpy. Some of us are silent because our fathers were silent. Some of us act certain ways and behave certain ways and we don't even understand it. I look at me sometimes and I see myself walking like my father. I'm like, oh God. Here's some things coming out of my mouth towards my kids. Lord Jesus, where did that one come from? Oh, I know where it came from. Because we carry on things that we receive, not only the good, but the bad. And if we haven't been effectively fathered, then it can be challenging for us to father someone else. In particular, in African American households, fatherhood has been challenged for decades. Fathers were separated from their children, even when they wanted to love on them. We had households for decades from slavery forward where fathers were detached. They were forcibly detached. Even when they wanted to be there to pour in, they were separated out. We forgot how to truly be fathers because we didn't receive being fathering. Some of us developed a hard shell because we had to be hard to make it. Some of us don't know how to carry on love because we never experienced the love of a father. Some of us have been hurt in terms of our relationships, and now we're trying to help bring somebody else into the world, and we never really been healed right ourselves. Challenges that we struggle, we try and carry on different things, but yet here we are struggling to affirm our own identity. And how do we help somebody else with the identity of who they are? We're still trying to figure out who we are. Still trying to figure out our own boundaries and understand our own situations and get comfortable with who we're supposed to be. And sometimes we're struggling and just trying to survive. And here I am trying to now help somebody else. We have fathers that have not been fathered. And as a result, we need the image of the Father to be restored into us.